A research institute says towns across the state could save money by consolidating pension plans. State legislators are gearing up to head back to the State House, and the High Arts District wins an award. These stories and more on this episode of Barnstable Today. It's Wednesday, August 28th, 2013. I'm Sarah Mannel. The Barnstable Planning Board would like more time to make decisions about medical marijuana. At Monday night's meeting, the board requested an extension of the medical marijuana treatment center moratorium. They'd like it to end on May 19th, 2014. The town council will take up the matter next. A first reading will happen at the September 12th meeting, with a public hearing later in the month. The Pioneer Institute for Public Policy Research recently released a new tool that can be used to learn more about the state's complicated pension system. Barnstable This Morning host Sarah Colvin talked to Finance Director Mark Milne about the new tool.
So let's talk a little bit about pension systems. I understand the Pioneer Institute has recently come up with this new tool for helping to manage the pension system. Can we talk a little bit about if Barnstable is going to use this and how it's going to benefit us?
Well, it's a tool that the Pioneer Institute put out there because one of their missions is to advocate for transparency and accountability at the local government level, and so I think this tool that they put on their website gives the community or the taxpayers the opportunity to see how the various pension systems statewide are performing against one another. We have 105 different pension systems in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and they're all at different funded ratios, meaning that they only have so many assets to meet the projected liabilities of that system. And so I think this tool will create some awareness about that and the differences between the systems, and maybe there'll be some more pressure on perhaps doing some consolidation of some of these systems.
Indeed, because just looking over some of the paperwork that you send me, it seems like not only are there so many different pension systems, there's a lot of different oversight for all of these things, and a lot of just there's many things going on here that it looks like it could be consolidated to run a little bit more efficiently.
Yeah. Every one of these pension systems has a board, and the boards receive stipends, and then they also have an administrative staff because somebody has to make the monthly pension payments, and somebody has to administer the pension system itself, and they all have investment managers, and so I think the Pioneer Institute estimated that if we were to consolidate these systems and eliminate some of that administrative overhead, we could save somewhere in the neighborhood of $20 to $25 million a year, which and that money could be used to go into the investments to try to pay down some of the unfunded liability of these pension systems. We've seen a lot of pension reform in the recent years at the state level, which has helped some of these pension systems decrease some of their unfunded liabilities, but there seems to be some more that could possibly be done, and this, consolidating some of these systems seems like a possibility, but it wouldn't be without a lot of challenges. There'd be a lot of politics involved in trying to get 105 systems consolidated into one.
Without a doubt, certainly, because people never like to give up control, especially when it has to do with money. So certainly,
Yep.
Kind of taking a look at that I can see how that would be a long and arduous process.
But you take little steps, and one of the steps that has been taken over the past few years is that the state did require or did offer the opportunity. There were some incentives for some of these pension systems to move the management of their assets to the state treasurer's office and combine it with the state's retirement system. That's as far as managing the assets go. And so a Barnstable County retirement system has done that. the underperforming systems, in which Barnstable County was one of them, is in accordance with how the state determined underperforming, said that, if you do this, and we'll give you the opportunity to pull back out in 3 years, I think it is, if you're not satisfied with what we're doing. However, the Barnstable County has kept their investments with the Mass State Treasurer's system, and it's performed very well. I think last year alone, I think they returned over almost 13% on the investments, and which was one of the best years they've ever had. And so that, those types of small steps have helped achieve, I think, some pay down of that unfunded liability. So maybe if they approach it in that method, they'll be able to achieve some efficiencies through consolidating more of the parts of the system, like the administrative cost.
Sure. So, Mark, tell me a little bit more about this tool. Is this something that really anyone can access if they'd like to learn a little bit more about the pension systems?
Yes. If you go to the Pioneer Institute's website, there is a link into this system. I believe it's under the Massachusetts state government area, and anybody can go in there and look at all 105 systems and see what their investment rate of return has been over the past 30 years, what their unfunded ratios are, and the Pioneer Institute gives every single one of these systems a grade in a couple of different categories, as far their investment return, their unfunded liability, and so you can go through and you can see how each system stacks up against one another. Right out, the very first one, it's all alphabetical, so the very first one is the town of Adams, and they have had they're out in western Massachusetts, my old stomping grounds. They have a funded ratio of almost 85%, I think, and they've had a great retirement system for the past 30 years. They've been almost 100% funded. But then there are other systems that are only about 50% funded, which is problematic.
If you want to learn more about the Pioneer Institute's tool, you can email us at btm@town.barnstable.ma.us. Following a brief legislative recess, lawmakers will soon be heading back to Beacon Hill. State Representative Cleon Turner talks about what's on the agenda.
Well, when you talk about legislative priorities, you talk about personal ones plus the leadership ones. So I guess the leadership ones were pretty well defined at the beginning of the session, and that is to handle things like transportation, tweaking the medical issues so that it's a little easier to understand and easier for people to get health insurance. So we'll continue with those things, and I'm on the Homeland Security, Public Safety Homeland Security Committee, and we've been having hearings right through the summer on firearms. So we'll be looking at all of those things.
Turner says the state may not need to pass further gun regulations.
And one of the things that I think I have a different approach than most other legislators. My approach is, everybody else's approach is we have to do something about firearms, and my approach is why? Why do we have to do something? Can't we look at what we already got and see if there's some way we can just manage what we have for firearms control laws? So we've had hearings, as I said, all over the state, from one end of the state to the other, and heard from people on both sides that, we have to do something, and we don't have to do anything, and every kind of argument in between.
Lawmakers return to the State House next week. The town of Barnstable's High Arts District is getting attention once again. This time, it's not for economic and cultural benefits, but for its health benefits. The town is one of 11 communities across the state that will receive a Healthy by Design Community Leadership Award. The state's Public Health Association chose Barnstable because the High Arts District encourages walking and links downtown Hyannis to Hyannis Harbor. With Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Mannel.